Hey y'all, TRG here. I'm not using my whole entire overlay because I want you guys to be able to see the whole screen here. We are doing a in-depth analysis here on how to use Radar Omega, and this is going to be, like I said, in-depth and an advanced radar update here and how to use radar. So yeah, let's go right ahead and get into the video. All right, so this is going to be Radar Omega on the desktop here, so make sure you guys follow this step by step on the desktop version. If it's the phone version, it should be pretty much the exact same thing, but of course on a smaller scale. So the first thing you're going to see right when you open the app is something like this. Now, I already have all the overlays and everything customized to how I like it when I go live and do radar analysis here. But the first button you should click here is going to be this radar button at the bottom of your screen right there. That little radar button, just kind of like with a circle around it, indicating radar. Make sure that's green. If that's green, you should see just gray radars pop up. So if it's gray down here, you're not going to see radars. If it's green, you'll see radars. So the first portion of this is going to be what radar is, how to use it, and how to read it. All right, so we're going to go right over here down to the Amarillo, Texas radar site here. By the way, I just want to briefly point this out as well. This is your warnings. Actually, this is your warnings right here. So to get to that, you just click the three little tabs at the top left, right here where my cursor is. I'll go ahead and draw that as well so you guys can see it right there. Those three little lines at the top. Click that and then go to data overlay settings and click this little triangle here. And that's your warnings. And you can customize these to how you want. You know, you can change your tornado warnings to whatever color you want. I recommend red or pink. I do pink. Severe warnings, everything like that. Also, this is something I get a lot is how do you turn off the Canada warnings? Just go to Canada and click these off because the rainfall warnings will get quite annoying, and I believe you just go like this and boom, no warnings on Canada. Now I do keep the tornado warnings and severe warnings on just because I like those on, and then you can go back to the US. There's also Germany in there as well. Make sure this is also set to Allen House. I believe that is the quickest one out there, so make sure double check that as well, that it is set to Allen House and not College DuPage or NOAA. Again, make sure that these are all on as well, and you can also change the, the ocupacity, the thickness of them, if they flash or not, and when they flash, what color, and if they make this little sound right here when you get the warnings. So yeah, you can customize that how you want. I wanted to point this out because we do have a tornado warning in effect right here in eastern Texas, and that's why it is pink and not red, because I have mine customized to pink. So if we click that radar indicated and look at that, this is actually a destructive severe thunderstorm warning as well, for 3-inch hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds. So this is a pretty gnarly beast out here into northeastern panhandle of Texas. And so if I just go ahead and show you guys, this is reflectivity. Click this little green arrow at the bottom or hold it with your finger. I think you hold it to see what it is on iPhone or, Android or whatever you're on, iPad, any of that stuff. Click high res reflectivity. All this should be available even if you don't have subscriptions. I also want to put that out there. Some of this may not be available unless you have certain subscriptions, so keep that in mind as well. So make sure you guys go ahead and if you want everything that I show in here, go to alpha tier. That's what I have. 3D, I don't believe you have that off of just the basic radar app here, but yeah, you do have high res reflectivity, and this is really easy to understand. Basically, the brighter the colors, the heavier the rain or possibly hail here. So we've got in my color table, which I'll show you guys that later on the video, how to change your color table. I've got this kind of lightish blue right here, meaning very light drizzle rain type here. Green is a drizzle. Yellow is where it starts to get heavy rain. Red is heavy rain. Pink is where it's extremely heavy rain, maybe even some light hail, small hail rather. And then as you get into the very dark pink, into the purple and the white, that's where you start to get into hail for mine, for my color table there. But I really want to go ahead and show you guys spectrum width because that's going to be one of the hardest products to understand. But first I'll go through these, from top to bottom so that we understand them. So that's reflectivity. Then you have basic, or rather base reflectivity. That's just a lower resolution. Winter radar. Now, I don't know why you'd be using this in the summer or anything like that. That's going to be for detecting snowfall, obviously. You have velocity. This is another crucial product here from radar. Now you can see that we've got a lot of green and red, and we actually have some very tight green and red right here. That's indicating rotation. Basically, green is winds going towards the radar. So our radar's over here in Amarillo, Texas. Green is winds going towards the radar. Red is greens going away from the radar, and that does indicate cyclonic rotation right in this area specifically. And you can see that the brighter the green, the stronger the rotation, and the darker the red, the stronger the rotation. And I also have a bit of yellow mixed in here as well. If you look at the top of the screen, you can see the rotation there, going from green to blue, and then dark blue is crazy rotation. I've never seen anything over 110 here on this radar app. And then if you go all the way to the right, you've got yellow, dark yellow, and black even. And I have custom radar tables here, custom color tables. I'll show you guys again how to change them, but my color tables are a bit hard to find on the internet here. But yeah, basically that just means there's a rotation. Now, something I want to point out to you guys is corruption. So if we go to reflectivity and we go ahead and circle this area, so keep that in mind, this exact region where my cursor is, and we go back to velocity. Look at that. There is velocity right there where that corruption is, where that gap in the rain is. That's corruption. That's basically just meaning it's no good data. So you got to keep an eye out for that here. And another product that you have to be watch out for with corruption here is correlation coefficient. I'll show that in a second. But yeah, velocity is winds going towards and away from radar. Green is winds towards. Red is winds away from radar. And when they're close to each other, most of the time it means rotation. But other times it could mean like a line of damaging winds here. Say if you have red right here and then green out, or it would actually be the other way. Green right here, red, just light red out in front of that, very light green. That could mean just very strong winds, like this, for instance. If there was just no red here, this would just be wind. It would just be a wind bag, meaning that it would just be a lot of damaging winds inside of this supercell here. And by the way, I'm not teaching you guys the exact structures of radar here, but this is a supercell. This is exactly what a supercell looks like. It's not a classic one, but you can see you've got your hook right in here where your RFD would be going into your supercell like this. That's a rear flank downdraft. And you've also got, your lighted precipitation over here, as well as your hail core. So that's kind of a classic supercell, but it doesn't look like the classic supercells that you see produce huge tornadoes like El Reno and more tornadoes, EF4, EF5 tornadoes, stuff like that. All right, down to the list here, we've got base velocity. Again, that's just lower resolution of high res velocity. Storm relative velocity. Now that is a bit confusing. I don't use that on this radar site, Radar Omega. I use my analysis radar for this because on Radar Omega, it's just too confusing. I think this is made just to, kind of correlate where the radar is. So say if your radar's over here, it may actually show that this is green and this is red. But if your radar's over here, it shows that this is green and this is red. So I think it's just made to kind of flip those. If your radar's on the wrong side of the storm, or the storm's on the left side of the radar, it will flip those green and red, so that way you normally get, red is outflow, green is inflow, type of ordeal there. But I don't use spectrum relative velocity. I just don't find it useful. And then there's high resolution spectrum width. This is a very confusing product. I myself am just learning how to use this. And basically, here's a quick example of what it is. Pretty much, if you see gray on this radar site, the exact color table that I'm using, that is just still winds. That means there's very limited winds in that area. Basically, it's all zonal flow, meaning that it's just light winds going in one direction here. And if you have blue, red, or whatever colors they come in, I think they come in, blue, red. Then we've also got, what is that, an orangish brown, and then orange, and then yellow as well. Basically, that just means winds are moving. So in this red area, it just means there's very fast, rapid moving winds, maybe in the one direction and the other direction, indicating some rotation, or straight line winds, or RFD as well. So from this supercell, it looks like if we go back here to our spectrum width, this looks to be just damaging winds, whereas this looks to be more of rotation here. So you kind of have to look at all your products. So what I did right there is I went to a high res reflectivity. I looked to see if that spectrum width was in this radar gap, or if it was actually in the hook echo where the tornado would be. And so when I switched on over to reflectivity, I was like, okay, this is where your rotation is. This is corruption, meaning this is not an area of rotation. This is an area of rotation. And then after that, I switched on over to my spectrum width, and that confirmed, hey, there's actually some pretty strong winds in this area that could be producing a tornado. And then this should just be either A, corruption, which means bad radar data, or B, it could actually be straight line winds or an RFD, very strong winds going into where that tornado is currently located, if it's on the ground. Again, this is still not confirmed. 3-inch hail radar indicated that's not a tornado on the ground right there. All right, now correlation coefficient. This is one of the probably the most trickiest radar product here. People always get this confused all the time. I see them say, this is a tornado, this is a tornado, this is going to be the tornado, this is a hail core over here. It's a very confusing product here. Radar is not something that you just learn overnight. I'm trying to just help you understand radar the best I can from my knowledge of weather here. But yeah, what I'm going to show you is reflectivity again. So this is hail. This is hail. This is where a tornado would be. Now let's go ahead and keep that in mind. And we're going to go back to a high resolution correlation coefficient. And look at that. You don't see a lot. You don't see a lot of correlation in that area, meaning there's probably not a tornado on the ground. And then you see this right here. What is this? That's a hail spike. So remember, our hail core was right here, and our tornado, if it's on the ground, would be right over here in that hook echo. So this is a hail spike, basically where the hail is so large that radar multiply scans hailstones and it spits out correlation coefficient. Basically, the bigger the object, the darker the color type of ordeal there. We've got red here, meaning there's, pretty much no debris in the air. We've got, some orange, yellow, green, blue in this area, meaning there's probably some hail. And then you've got this area indicating, yeah, there's definitely some big hail in that area. And I don't have an example of a correlation coefficient debris ball here where there's a tornado on the ground. But basically, if there's a tornado on the ground, you would just see a very confined area of, probably dark blue, yellow, and even some green there as well in one area. Debris balls are very hard to depict. I recommend, if you're not an expert with that, don't try to, tweet at the National Weather Service saying there's a tornado on the ground. If you guys want more in-depth analysis here with these radars as, tornadoes occur here, join my live streams. I'll be live tomorrow, and you can just ask me any questions that this video didn't cover, which I imagine it didn't cover a lot of the questions, but hopefully I am covering most. And then we're going to go to high-res differential reflectivity. Now this, I just haven't gotten the use to learn. I don't know what it's used for at all. This is a product that I recommend you stay away from because to me, it's just too confusing. And then under that, we've also got, we've got this as well. Another product that's pretty confusing. I believe this is used for hail. I think this is to detect hail. The higher the number, the potential bigger the hailstone, that type of ordeal. We also have another product that you can use for hail as well. So I think this is used for hail, and that's going to be digital array there. And we've got your rainfall products. These four are your rainfall products, your 1 hour difference, your storm total difference. You guys know that. That's just rainfall. And then this is your actual hail product. This is saying how big the hail is, which, my word, this is probably producing, as you can see from radar indicated. Radar indicates almost 4-inch hail here in this area, whereas up here with these kind of lighter colors, it shows 1.75-inch hail, even 2.5-inch hail still in that area. I'll tell you guys how to turn on those reports in just a moment. And then there you go. Like I said, that's hail. Echo tops, very important as well. How tall is the storm? I've seen people say, wait, what? This is only 54 feet tall. What in the world? Thunderstorms aren't that low to the ground now. No, actually, it's 54,000. So whenever you see a number here, just add 3 zeros. So this is actually 54000. That's 54,000 right there. So it's 54000. That's 54,000 feet tall. So just add 3 zeros and boom, you got how tall the storm is. 54,000 feet, 53,000 feet. That is echo tops. All right, that's how to use radar. And now we're going to go ahead and dive into how to get all this, cool stuff on Radar Omega and everything that I have on it. Like, for instance, the color tables. All right, so we're going to go right ahead and dive into this. First, we're going to start with the top. Okay, this is very simple. Basically, this just tells you, again, make sure you have this on green so you can see what radar you're on and the radars in the US. If I don't have a radar selected, which there's no way for me to do that because I've already selected one, actually, you can just unselect them. I didn't know that because I always click from one radar to the other. Again, that just makes the whole top thing disappear there. Click a radar and you'll see the radar you're on, which I'm on the Amarillo radar, KAMA, and you'll also see the precipitation type mode. I think if I switch, this should say something different. We'll see. It still says the exact same thing. The main thing for this is 3D, which just click this blue button here, boom, you turn into 3D. And I believe this is available for beta and alpha subscriptions. I believe you do need a subscription for 2 and 3D here. Not 2D, but 3D, you definitely needed a subscription for. 2D, you just need to buy the app. So there you go. Just click that and you got 3D. Easy as that. And then you also have 3D over here. You can see that means that you can use 3D with this product, this product, this product. You can use 3D with all those. You cannot use 3D with any of these products at all, but you can use 3D with these two as well. Down here, your hail core type of ordeal there, what tells you how big the hail is, and echo tops as well. You can use 3D with as well, so you can see how big those thunderstorms are. And you can see we definitely have some huge thunderstorms in this area, big time clouds in that region, which, like I said, that's probably about 500 and, what did I say, 53? I think I said 53,000 feet. Actually, now, new radar scan, 55,000 feet in the atmosphere is how big that storm is, 55,000. Then you got your frames at the bottom of your screen here. I actually have to use my different pin. You can see our frames in that area, your radar archive in that area. We're not going to spend much time with radar archive because that's self-explanatory. And this video is already 17 minutes long. So yeah, you've also got your time of your radar, and you also have your date of the radar, what date it is, which today, July 5th, 2023, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much all you have in this screen right here. And then, of course, you have your warnings at the top right. Again, my tornado warnings are pink. If you have your tornado warnings as red and there's a tornado warning, it will show up as red. If there's no tornado warning and you have your severe thunderstorm warnings as yellow or orange, this will show up as orange. So it's color coordinated with the highest level warning. And then if we go right on over to this area, this is going to be your single site radar, where you switch between products. If we click that, you'll notice that we have radar, models, satellite, and forecast. I don't use forecast. You guys are welcome to dive into that. Basically, it's self-explanatory. It's kind of like mesoanalysis, but from the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service. Then we have radar, single site radar, which is this. Again, make sure you have this set to green so you can see your radars. And then we also have your MRMS, which is your nationwide radar here, and that's actually a pretty strong line right there in Illinois. And this, again, I think this is only available for beta and alpha subscriptions, so make sure you guys have that if you want MRMS. And then we can go ahead and move on to satellite. This is very self-explanatory as well. You can choose the different sectors. You've got the Gulf of Mexico, Atlantic Basin, Hawaii, all this type of stuff you guys are welcome to explore. And then we also have, of course, your products down here at the bottom right. You've got visible blue, red, NRI, your basic products here, mid-level water vapor. That's one of the best products in my opinion. I love looking at this. You've got your lightning density. Another really good product is a long wave infrared. Basically how cool, how big are these storms? It's really how it is. How intense are these cells here? And this tells me that there is some big time supercell, or at least thunderstorm activity over here. Definitely supercell activity in this region, all back in here as well. And then there you go. Another thing I want to note with this is if you select any of these 4 sectors here, let's see which sector we should use. We're going to use, let's see if there's one over Texas. Yes, we're going to use this one, which is over Texas, our main risk area for today. We can actually select different things here. Like if we go to, infrared, for instance, now we can have smoothing on it because we are on this mesoscale sector here. Make sure you're on that mesoscale sector to unlock these different options with your products. We can also enable lightning activity on top of our infrared, so you can see lightning as well if you loop this. And we can also do my favorite thing, which is 3D satellite. That is one of the most awesome things to do, especially if you have a hurricane coming into the United States. You can do 3D on that hurricane. All right, that should be it for satellite. Now we're going to move into more of the nitty-gritty stuff, which is going to be how in the world do we use all of this? Okay, that's your managed subscriptions up there at the top. I'm not going to click that because it may reveal personal information. You guys can just sign in if you want to get a subscription. You can do it that way as well. I think you may have to do that from phone. And then if we do control panel, we've got display settings, the most important thing right there. Make sure these two are clicked on. If you don't have them on, then you're not going to see your counties and you're not going to see your states. You can choose those to whatever color you want. Animation speeds, you can do those to slow and fast. Now, if you're not seeing your radar sites, this is probably something that you have off here. You can see warning occupancy is set to 0, meaning you will not be able to see radar. So make sure that is set to 100 or whatever you'd like. I always have mine at 100. I don't see why you wouldn't. We also have something here, which is your tower codes. Let me show you what that is. Basically, if we switch on back over here to our radar site, now we're going to see the name of our radars in the United States. I like them just as dots personally. I keep them just without the codes on. You can see they're dots. Now they are named. I keep them just where they are dots. Mapped type, this is very important as well. Personally, I love the satellite. You guys can do whichever one you want. Explore with this setting here. Very important that you realize what presentation you're on, of course, because that makes your radar look better or worse depending on how you like it. Again, I would recommend satellite, but another good one is also like road network, dark road map. They're really good. All of them are really good here. And then, of course, you also have local and UTC time. I always do local just because why not? I don't really do UTC time. But UTC time is also Zulu time. That is something you can note there if you want to study Zulu time. 22:28 UTC is 22:28 Zulu time. I learned that the other day, believe it or not. I didn't realize UTC and Zulu were the same time. Alrighty, now we've got more things down here. I want to go ahead and go over this. This is just your inspector tool. Again, I'm not 100% sure what you can and cannot access with a subscription. You've got screenshots, your location, your animation settings, how you can play radar loops there, as well as your frames, how many frames you want. Again, don't think you can go over maybe 30 frames without a subscription there. Then you also have dual panel, and this is a feature for, I believe, desktop only. If you hold down that, if you hold it down, it should eventually say, there you go, quad panel. So make sure you have it disabled. And if you click and hold quad panel, now I don't use quad panel. It just really, just too many radar products at once. I only do single panel. I rarely even do double panel here. And then, of course, you have this button, which is, I believe, yes, your distance tool. So that's your distance tool. And then you also have your tracks. You can click and hold this just like you can with the dual panel to change it. Click and hold this. You've got cellular mode, which basically that means single cell. That's like one supercell. You also have linear mode, which is going to be for a line. I recommend you always have it as a line. Then you have your polygon fill capacity, your lines, and your local time as well, which I don't recommend local time, but that's up to you. And then you just click, 3 dots wherever you want, and then the 4th dot where it's going to go. So for instance, let me go ahead and do this. Tornado warning, that's going to be for, let's see, moving south at 10 miles per hour. So we're going to go ahead and take our tracking tool. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go, south at 10 miles per hour. And I clicked that 4th time down here. And boom, now we got the list of impact times there as well, which this is in rural areas, thank goodness, and it is tornado warned, like I said there. And you also have your drawing tool. This is a very fun tool to mess with. I recommend you guys keep this on like the 3rd option there. That's the one that I found is not too big and not too small. And then we also have, again, this panel. Let's go through this, and I'm going to have to hurry up. Man, this is going to be like a 30-minute video. We've also got display settings. I went over all that. We've got radar settings. These are important. That's how you filter your gate to gate. I keep this as 6. You can put that whatever you want. You've got your storm tracks all right here. This is how you want your winds to be measured on velocity. I put mine in miles per hour because I'm in the US. You could do kilometers per hour or meters per hour. A new scan audible, basically, if there's a new scan on radar, it will just go beep, beep, beep into your ear so that you know that there is a new scan. I have that off. You also have your show ring here, rather. Show range ring. Man, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Basically, that just shows you how far out the radar should go before you get way too far away from the radar. I have that off as well. Color tables, you can see all you can see all the different types of color tables I have. These are all custom color tables that I just really spammed my keyboard for. And yeah, the one I'm using right now is, what is this, NWSLC. So that's going to be this one down here is the one that I'm currently using. I believe that's I don't know what National Weather Service LC is for. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but these are the basic ones. If you are just new to radar overall, go to your color tables, which I just showed you how to do that. Again, 3 lines at the top, radar, color tables, reflectivity, and change it to the first one. I recommend the reflectivity 1. That's the best one. Yours is going to be set on default. And then for the velocity, you can see there's 4 different options. I recommend the default one, but the velocity 1 isn't that bad as well. I highly don't recommend velocity 4, 3, or even 2. Those are just so confusing. I recommend the first 2. Feed settings, again, make sure they're either on that you have to have them on Radar Omega. If you have an Allen House subscription, you can enter it there, but I have it on Radar Omega because I didn't pay however much it is. I think it's like $240 a year for an Allen House subscription there. So I have it on Radar Omega. MRMS settings, that's just your nationwide radar. Make sure this is in Imperial if you are in the US metric. If you're in like the UK, I believe, that's how you change that. Audible scan, once again, they say 10 to 85. I keep mine at 14 just because it shows too much rain on the radar for my liking. Color tables there as well. Model settings. This is going to be a whole entire overlay here. This is going to be one long video, y'all. I'm sorry. But yeah, these are your color tables for all your model data. And you can keep this on. Basically, what that does is if there's a hurricane and you're looking at a model, when you click the play button for models, it will just follow along with that hurricane track. If you don't have it on, that hurricane will just go on without the screen moving with it. So if you have it on, the screen's going to move with the hurricane and the animation. If you have it off, the hurricane's going to get off the screen and you'll have to drag the screen to follow that hurricane or whatever it may be. And then you also have your overlays there. Man, that is going to be definitely something that I wouldn't mess with. You can, of course, mess with it if you want, but I haven't messed with any of this stuff. They're all self-explanatory things. You've got color map 1, line thickness, solid line, dashed line, and that's pretty much the same for all of them. I do recommend you have the low pressure marker on, but that's up to you. Basically, if there's a hurricane, say this is the eye, it's going to say, hey, low pressure's right here in the eye. Low pressure's over here when it moves to the left. And if you don't have that low pressure on, then it's just going to be, a hurricane moving across wherever. All right. Should be it for that. And of course, model settings. We just went over all that there. Satellite settings. This is really easy. Most of the time I have this on. Honestly, I don't know why that's not on. I'm going to keep that on right there. Follow sector during playback. I'm not sure what the difference is with that and the hurricane one, but I do have it on. You can turn that on if you want. Outlooks, very important. Here we go. We've got severe weather day 1 outlook. There you go. You've got that slight risk for severe weather over portions of Oklahoma and regions you see on screen. And then you have your tornado outlook, 2% TOR there. Wind outlook, 5% surrounded by 15%, or rather 15% surrounded by 5%. Then your hail outlook there as well. And by the way, you can change your dashed lines here. I'll show that in just a second. That's a 15 sig chance for large hail. Day 2 outlook right there. And you can see enhanced risk for tornadoes, or rather enhanced risk overall, slight risk for tornadoes. That's a 5% chance for tornadoes. I will be live on that later on today. Or rather later on tomorrow, my bad. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. If you want tornado analysis and how to read radar once again, and you have questions for me, you can just come on over to the live stream tomorrow and I'll answer them there. And if you're watching this, later on in the week, I'm live pretty much every day. So feel free to ask me questions either in the comments or in a live stream if I'm live at the time of you watching this video. Wind tomorrow, 30 sig there. Hail is also 30 sig. So this is probably the biggest risk we've had in about a week and a half. Then you have your day 4 through 8 outlook, and we do not have any of these here. Now, I've actually had problems with this to where the day 4 outlook and day 4 through 8 outlooks just straight up don't even show on here, even if they are issued or are not issued there. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it may not be showing up even though the National Weather Service has issued it. Mesoscale discussions, that's just, there's none active right now. I recommend you have those on, but I keep them off just to kind of keep our radar clean here. We've had mesoscale discussions. Basically, they're just saying what's the chance of a watch being issued in a specific area. Like this region had to have a mesoscale discussion to get a watch to be issued. Settings, we've got a lot of stuff here as well. That's your polygon fill occupacity. Let me turn on day 1 so you can see that. If I go here, I have mine just 1 beneath the full occupacity. You can have yours to none, halfway, whatever you'd like. Again, I have mine 1 next to full. Border thickness, that's just how thick you want the lines. If I change it 1 up, you can see they get thicker. And then if I go 2 down, they get thinner. I keep mine right in the middle. And then this is how you change your dashed lines. I always recommend you have them filled, but this is your significant. So if we go to day 2 wind, we can change our dashed lines to say red here. So now it's, let's try a different color, blue. There you go. Now our dashed lines are blue. And if you have this off, you won't see the dashed lines. And then if you have the significant color on red, the outline of that's red, or you can make that blue as well. You can make it pink, whatever you want. I recommend you have the outline as black, and then the lines inside as black as well. Those just make it sleeker there. And then you can also make your lines very thick like that, or kind of thin. I keep mine, again, in the middle. That's all from the outlooks. Now on to the tropical weather outlooks. Again, same thing there. This is from the National Hurricane Center. So you can see I have all of this on. I mostly always have all this on except for the wind probabilities. This is very important to have on. That's going to show you the outlooks right here, which, by the way, they did change this to a 70-20, so we can expect a depression out of that within the next week. Hurricane hunters, that's up to you if you want them on or off, depending on if they're out or not. That's it there. hydraulical outlook, pretty much the same thing as the severe weather outlook. And by the way, you can overlap these things. And yeah, that's self-explanatory right there. Border thickness and ocupacity as well. Fire outlooks, same there. Winter outlooks, same there. Which of course it's not winter. But yeah, there's not going to be anything there as well as the severity index. Actually, there is something. Look at that. Wyoming has a chance at snow in the next 3 days. That is crazy right there. I did not realize they had chance of snow in July. And then we got data overlay settings. And don't forget, we still have to go over all the models as well. That's at the end of the video here. We've got this, which is your details. Make sure if you guys want details on, your temperatures and everything, you have to select a radar site first and then click one of these. Or, you can have no radar selected and have this on, but it's not going to show anything, or it will show your previously selected radar. Like if I click over here, it should show this area. And then boom, it's gone. So make sure you have a radar selected in order to see all these details here, temperatures and everything like that. And again, to get to that, it was in the data overlay settings, and then right there, marine surface tools. I've never used that. That's up to you. Surface fronts, I use that every once in a while. That just shows you where low pressures and high pressures are according to the WPC forecast. Weather alerts, very important. I went over this already, but make sure you have that set to all no matter what. And then in Canada and, Germany, you can adjust those accordingly to how you want. And if I go ahead and close that, we also have storm reports. I highly, highly recommend you have all these on and set to the last hour, or if you really want the last 3 hours, I keep them on the last hour. But these are official storm reports. These are this type of polygon that you see right here. That's an official storm report from a train spotter, public, or from a National Weather Service employee. And I recommend you also have all of them on. I do keep the flood off just because it can get a little bit chaotic there. I'm going to turn water spouts on. I didn't realize I had that off. And if we go over to lightning detection, again, I don't know what you guys can and cannot use without subscriptions there, but I have these set to 15 minutes for lightning strikes. You can do 5 minutes. I recommend 5 or 15 minutes. I keep them on 15 minutes. And lightning animation is, lightning animation with your replay. So if we go over here and we play it, see how the lightning bolt moves with the radar? That's the lightning animation. Alrighty, and then we have our Nexart history. This is going to be the radar reports that I have here. So this is just radar indicated reports. It's not official reports. It's just what radar says could be falling right now. So if I turn these off, these dots here that say 1.75-inch hail, that's going to turn off right now. That is something that I have on just because I'd like to see what the radar thinks is falling compared to what is actually falling from train spotters. That's just something that I keep on. And that's Nexart history right there. We also have Spotter Network. Of course, I am logged into this there, and you can see the last 15 minutes, the last 5 minutes, the last 30 minutes of spotters, and those are going to be your little dots there. Red means they haven't logged on in an hour. Yellow means they've haven't logged on in 15 minutes. Orange means they haven't logged on in 30 minutes, and then green means they've logged on within the last 5 minutes. And then we've got custom location right here, which I'm not going to show because I have mine on. We've got Cyclone Port Network. That's these cameras and storm chasers that you see here. You can turn those on and off depending on what you like. And this, by the way, that's for hurricanes. Turn those on if there's a hurricane making landfall. And then you can see the portable project mesovortex cyclone ports there along the Gulf Coast if a hurricane does strike. Device settings, not going to click that. That's just device settings. And info and support. All right, now on to the models. This is our last thing here. You've got consecutive models, HRRR NAM, regional models, NAM RAP, global models, the GFS Euro, and tropical models, HMON and HWRF. And I recommend the HRRR, of course, for 48-hour forecast. And I'm only going to go over the HRRR and how to use that one only. I'm not going to go through the rest because we'll be here for another 30 minutes. Basically, you've got your temperatures, dew points, composite reflectivity. These are all self-explanatory, just how hot it is, how humid it is with dew points, composite reflectivity, the reflectivity you're seeing now, and the future total precipitation, wind speeds, wind gusts, the mean level pressure, which I don't recommend you get into that, nor the temperatures right here. your jet stream, which is 500 millibar, and your lower level jet, which is 850 millibar, your EHI, most unstable cape, supercell composite, which is your tornado type of ordeal there, tornado composite, what we look at all the time when determining if there could be the potential for tornadoes or not, significant tornado parameters, cape, all the stuff that you hear on TV is on here with the models, and everything that you see me use on websites is also here on this radar app. Smoothing for whatever you'd like as well is on here. And then this is another thing that they added, which is overlays. You can now do 2 overlays at once. So you can see I have temperatures and mean scene pressures on at the same time. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing a lot of this. If you are going to do something, I think the cape is the coolest. As well as, you know, the significant tornado parameters and supercell composite. That's also cool there. And that's just overlaying everything with the models. All right, that's going to be about a 35-minute video right there. Sorry, guys, for such a long video. Hopefully, I covered everything. I'm trying to think right now if I forgot anything. Of course, you can click this at the top right, and that will show you your watches and warnings, which apparently it does not want to show for me right now. But yeah, also you have watches and warnings in, let me see here. I think it's this one right here. This even gets confusing for me. I've forgotten exactly where the outlooks are. I believe it's going to be this one right here. And you also have, yeah, your watches and warnings. And you can customize your tornado watches and your severe thunderstorm watches. But even I get confused with this radar app. I may not have just told you everything in this radar app. By the way, this is how we do our zip codes. This little search icon right here. For instance, I could put in any zip code I want, and then it's going to lead me wherever in the world. So for instance, you know, 25431. Let's see if that's something. That's Colombia, Spain. You know, anything you want, just go ahead and flop it in here, and you'll get something there. That's my local zip code right there, Martinsville, Virginia. So yeah, just anything you want, you can flop on in there. Alrighty, I think that's going to be it. I hope I went in depth with everything the best to my ability, and that is going to be it for this video. I will see you guys tomorrow for a live stream, probably around, I'd say 6, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Stay safe, watch the severe weather and the tropics.